Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Mickey Loomis every week does his radio appearance. It's on WWL, then Saints Radio Network affiliates, which candidly our radio group here, Eagle 98.1, is a Saints Radio Network affiliate, so we air Mickey Loomis's program weekly. And on the program earlier this week, Mickey Loomis was asked about Derek Carr, and one of the questions, he gave a sort of long answer. The first part of it is when he talked about Derek Carr and how there have been successes and some failures as well, sort of up and down moments this year here in 2024. Give a listen.
Overall, Derek's done some really good things this season. If you look at, his rating, his efficiency, there's a lot of really good things that we've done. There's some things that he hasn't done well. Obviously, he had a shoulder injury, early in the season. There's no question that bothered him. We didn't handle pressure very well earlier in the season. And I think, in the last 4 or 5 games in particular, our offensive line and our protection has been better. So there's all these variables, all these elements that contribute to the quarterback play. And we all look at the quarterback and we look at the head coach, and that's where we want to point blame and oftentimes give credit. And yet there's just so much more to it than that.
I'm okay with what he said. You've had good moments. You've had bad moments. Carr had a shoulder injury. Look, the loss earlier this season to Tampa was after the shoulder injury against Green Bay. Didn't practice all week. Saints played maybe their worst game of the year. Maybe their worst game of the year. No, the Rams was pretty horrendous. But anyway, I'm okay with that. And I'm also okay saying, look, there's a lot of blame to go around. Your offensive line, although Carr has been sacked, the Saints offensive line has allowed the second fewest sacks in the NFL this year. They're better than what I think a lot of the perception has been of them. But I'm okay with saying that. There is blame to go around. Pete Carmichael has been much maligned. I'm okay with what he said. This is the part which you're about to hear that makes me start to call into question Mickey Loomis's ability to continue running this organization and, quite honestly, his legacy with this organization.
This is Derek's first year with us. And if we went back to 2006 and looked at Brees' first season or two with us, you wouldn't say, wow, that guy's going to the Hall of Fame after season 1 or season 2. So, sometimes it takes a while for us to be familiar with him, for him to have a real grasp of the offense in terms of being reactive instead of thinking and then making a play and getting on the same page with, our staff, our coaches, as well as our players.
I don't know if Mickey Loomis actually believes that or if he feels like he has to publicly continue to vouch for his guy. The first half of that answer I'm perfectly fine with. The second half is patently absurd. To try to with a straight face argue that Derek Carr's year 1 in New Orleans is in any way comparable to Drew Brees' year 1 is not only comical, it's patently absurd. It's a stupid thing to say. I mean, I don't need to spell out the context, but Drew Brees had his shoulder explode at the end of the 2005 season.
He had 9 anchors in his shoulder.
He comes to New Orleans, and even Brees and Peyton, both in their books, have written about this on the record. He didn't throw the ball in training camp. Through the preseason, Drew Brees wasn't even sure that he was going to be ready to play for the regular season, right? And he goes out, and this was, by the way, year 6 for Drew Brees. He had 5 years in San Antonio, and then his first year in New Orleans was year 6. And he throws for 4,400 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. For what it's worth right now, Derek Carr, through 16 games, right, which is what they played then, 3,600 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 8 picks. So Brees had thrown for 800 more yards and 5 more touchdowns at this point. In year 6, Derek Carr's with an exploded shoulder, remember?
Oh, yeah.
And throwing to Their best receiver was a 7th-round tight end out of Hofstra, who they converted to receiver in Marcus Colston, who went on to have a Saints Hall of Fame career. But are we really comparing the two? Derek Carr's in year 10. Year 10. This isn't a guy who had lost his job due to, San Diego making a different decision, shoulder injury, coming to New Orleans, a franchise that had won 3 games the year prior and was a vagabond franchise after Katrina. Mm-hmm. Carr comes into a situation where you had the longest stretch of success in the history of this organization. You've won a Super Bowl. You've been to the playoffs. You've won divisions. You've got a competent roster. You have a good defense. It makes me sit back and wonder, hey, Mickey, you had the one good draft in 2006, and then you really stunk at the draft after that. When did you get good at drafting again? When you brought in Ireland. When they brought in Ireland, Jeff Ireland, only then did the Saints start drafting well again. Do we give Mickey Loomis any credit for being the architect of the first Super Bowl team, or was it really just the fact that you had a Hall of Fame coach in Sean Payton and one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the league? Does Mickey Loomis, if he honestly believes that you can draw any type of comparison with Derek Carr this year and Drew Brees in 2006, it really makes me legitimately wonder, not only is he fit to be the general manager of this organization now, but does he deserve any credit at all for what they were?
Yeah, look, I think a lot of that's coach talk. I really do.
The first part is fine, though.
The first part's fine. I think the second part is coach talk. I think you commit X amount of dollars to a guy, and you bring him in to help win football games, and he doesn't. He obviously doesn't. And then a lot of that is coach talk. You can't say he didn't have anything to do with that run, but I'll tell you this: GMs are going to defend their guys. They are directly tied to their guys that they give the money to, and they're going to defend them to their last breath, no doubt.
In year 10, Drew Brees, that was 2010. Drew Brees threw for 4,600 yards, 33 touchdowns. He had 22 interceptions. That was the 2010 season, the year after they won the Super Bowl. And he did all of that, by the way, we learned later, with a bum knee. And he made a Pro Bowl that year. He'd won the Super Bowl the year before. He'd already thrown for 5,000 yards in 2008, came just a breath away from Dan Marino's single-season record that year, if you remember. And the next year ended up being the AP Offensive Player of the Year that season in 2008. Next year, they won a Super Bowl. I can't believe that I'm actually sitting here having to point out that the Saints general manager commenting that Derek Carr in year 1 is comparable to Drew Brees' year 1 in New Orleans, how loony that is. I feel silly having to sit here and argue this. Yet here we are. I mean, do you have any confidence that they're going to be able to turn this thing around?
No, not
That's
as,
the problem.
Yeah, no. Not with the current setup. And do you stick with your guy? It sounds like he's gonna. It seems like the coaching staff staying the same. It seems like nothing is going to change.
Man.
So, yeah, I mean, you're going to get the same results.
It feels like Mickey Loomis is just digging in his heels. Mm-hmm. And brother, that is I don't care if it's sports or business or family or anything. That's a dangerous place to be when you're wrong and you can't concede. And so you keep digging that hole deeper and deeper, and you double down and you double down. That's like what people with a gambling problem do. You lose, you're like, I'm going to go get it back. No, I'm not wrong. Give me another hand. Give me another hand. No. It's like in the Breakfast Club. Hey, Richard Condon, here's an 80s pop culture reference for you. You want one more? You want another one? I get another one. Good, fine. He keeps giving him more weekends of detention. How about that, old Dick Condon? Got a 1980s pop culture reference for you there.
A good movie.
Mickey Loomis, man, did not need to hear those comments. It really, really, really has me a little shook about whether or not they're going to be able to dig themselves out of this. And if Gail Benson is pot committed to Mickey Loomis, and Loomis continues to be committed to Allen and Carr the way he is, in all the draft misses they've had in the last half decade, it really makes you wonder, the cap situation's horrendous. They don't draft well. They don't have a good head coach. Their quarterback has been average at best, and their general manager doesn't see any of it. Where is there any hope that this gets better?
Likely losing your most explosive offensive player.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.